Yes, I can announce the next speaker from Center for Advanced Studies in Pure and Applied Mathematics, Bahauddin Zakria University, Multan, Dr. Atar Kharal, who is currently working as assistant professor here, and he's also an expert
Recording in progress.
OBE based curriculum design. So we would like Dr. Atar Kharal to please start his talk, and the floor is open for you. Thank you.
Okay, thank you, everyone. I hope my voice is audible to all.
Yes, for me it's audible.
Okay. So let me settle down the things first. My screen is visible to all?
Yes, it's visible.
Okay, okay. Okay, thank you very much, everyone. We have a session here with a mathematician talking about OBE. It's a long haul and a difficult task, but let me give it a try. First of all, and the foremost thing is that this presentation will be in a special style. Style of this presentation will be that active bullet will always be in the red color, whereas all other bullets will be visible at every time in the gray color, so that you do not lose attention and you do not forget what we were talking about. So the bullets preceding and the bullets which are coming, both will be in the gray color, and whatever we are discussing at the moment, they will be in the red color as it is visible. Secondly, I shall be using another technique to grab your, in fact, steal your attention, and that is called the gray out view. For example, this view I shall use gray out view. Whenever I shall like to your attention to be requested towards a particular point, I shall use this gray out view. And the third thing is I shall be using this kind of color, this circle, which is called the attention catcher color circle for further pinpointing your attention. Along with this, once I'm presenting this, I have another document prepared. Yes. This is a document which is accompanying this my presentation. This is a long and fairly complicated document. It is comprising around 26 pages and a very detailed exposition I have made, whichever I'm presenting here. So you can take care, you can read it in your own time. Dr. Fiza will be helpful to us, I hope, in dispersing this document. So coming back, whenever I shall speak that I'm talking of the document, this means that I'm talking of this 26 pages document upon which this presentation is based. Okay. Next is, this is also possible. If I find good time, I shall be translating this whole, in fact, I shall be redelivering this.
Unmute yourself. Cannot hear anything.
Pardon? Okay. Should I continue?
Yes, Dr. Atar.
Okay. I shall be in the evening today. If I find time, I shall redeliver this whole presentation in Urdu language and put it on my YouTube channel. Maybe it may be helpful for some other my colleagues. Next is this presentation, although it mentions the name of mathematics, but don't get shy of it. Not only mathematics, other subjects have also been there. And for example, biology, computer science, so much so Islamic studies is also present in this document. So my other colleagues, which are non-mathematicians, they can also take benefit out of this presentation and the document. This presentation will be in two versions. In fact, it will be having in two different files. One is the presentable, which is in front of you, and the second one is printable. I request that if you want to print this presentation, kindly use the printable version. Otherwise, you will be ending up with in fact, hundreds of pages, which you do not want. You will definitely need the printable version. Lastly, as the Shakespeare said, time is short and art is long. I shall request that kindly hold your horses for the question and shoot those questions at the end of the presentation. I shall be, even if I'm not happy, I shall try to reply. Okay. OBE, this is my, you can say, a very opinionated or personal view. It has both strengths as well as weaknesses, and I shall try that both of them shall be presented to you in this presentation. Not only OBE, not only Bloom's taxonomy, there are other taxonomies and as well as other setups, frameworks which have been developed. For example, Webb has developed, Webb is the name of the person who has developed the depth of knowledge, DOK, and Marzano's taxonomy. Both of these are present in the document in reference number 6 and 7. I just want to point that this is not the end of the story. There are people who are also working on other sides of Bloom's taxonomy, OBE, because there are certain weaknesses and limitations as well. Bloom's, I shall be using BT for Bloom's taxonomy. BT is beneficial for once two conditions are met. First is the right spirit of the cognitive levels is understood. I shall specifically stress upon cognitive levels, despite the fact that there are two other domains of psychomotor domain and the affective domain. But because belonging to mathematics and mostly working within mathematics, I shall be more interested in the cognitive levels. Although once I started the OBE, I worked more in psychomotor domain because at that time I was working with an engineering setup. Over there, I used psychomotor. Anyhow, this is important that we should learn the real spirit of cognitive levels. That is one first condition to properly use the Bloom's taxonomy. Second one, there are subtle distinctions, very subtle differences in the meanings, in the semantics of this whole framework. Some of them I shall bring in this presentation and this document, but this is my humble request to my colleagues and whosoever are listening here, that we should pay more attention. The way we are dealing with these things is that we are simply pouring the old wine into the new bottle. And that should not happen. We have to change our schema as it is desired by OBE or as it is desired by the originators of Bloom's taxonomy. Cognitive levels, although this thing has been already said in this workshop, but let me reiterate for the sake of clarity and continuity, they are hierarchical in nature. In fact, they are ordinal for the mathematicians. They start from C1 to C2 and C3, and there is a partial ordering in between these cognitive levels. First and foremost thing is that cognitive levels should always accompany with their associated verbs. This has been, I was looking at a presentation yesterday in this workshop where these associative verbs have rightfully been emphasized. And I'm quite happy that the honorable lady was presenting it in a very beautiful manner. But for the sake of my own satisfaction, I would like to reiterate. Remember is recalling facts and basic concepts, as it is there. You can see the cognitive level here. And these are the associated verbs with this. And similarly, this is a standard table which is easily available in the literature. I shall not go into any details just to save my time. As I said, the art is long. Okay. This is a distinction, basically, I would like to reiterate. Between there is a difference between objectives and outcomes. First of all, the objectives, they are broad, whereas the outcomes are specific. And you can see I have made certain red color entries, not necessarily measurable. The objectives are not necessarily measurable, although we shall try to measure them or get some feeling of them. Well, after so many years, we can calculate data of our graduates or something like this, but they are not clearly measurable. However, the outcomes have to be measurable. Secondly, the objectives on the axis of target. On the axis of target, the objectives are always targeted towards the instructors, the teachers, the faculty, the administration, whereas the outcomes are targeted towards the students. Similarly, the focus is this one is instructor focused and this one is student focused. The outcome is student focused. Objectives are entire or they span over the entire course or the whole program, whereas the outcomes, they are tied to specific assessments. They might be assessments of the midterm examination or the final term examination or a course or next 6 months or so. So the time frame is another axis upon which there is a difference. And lastly, the specificity. The objectives, they are broader and abstract in their nature, whereas the outcomes are more specific and measurable. With these important distinctions, let's go further. For more clarity, I have introduced this strange looking word, PEO objectives, because both the O can be, it is my observation of last almost 1 decade in which I have been involved in this, with this OBE, that people are mixing and confusing standard objective. This will remind us all the time that we are discussing the objectives or the outcomes. Another short handwriting can be this one: PEOJs, objectives, and PLO, program learning outcomes. So this T and J, they are vital for me at least. These are buzzwords nowadays in the language. We are always talking about the organization and its vision and the mission, although not very straightforward and strictly, but there is an isomorphism existing between vision versus mission and objectives and the outcomes. The vision, the vision is always broader, just like in the sense of objectives, and mission is always specific, and it is again in the same vein as it is in the outcomes. So although this needs another, I think, a separate time to discuss how vision, mission, objectives, outcomes, they are connected and interlinked, but at the time being, I shall just indicate this much. Okay. So these are the educational objectives which one can propose in this program, because as my title says, that this is a proposal as well as an exposition of OBE. So I shall try to propose a proposal, and on the fly, in the parallel, I shall try to explain whatever I want to explain for the OBE. Educational objectives, as we have discussed earlier, they are broad, general, and the outcomes are specific, short-term, focus on precise competencies. The important word is here, these competencies. You can see the competencies word has been used here. I shall come back to this word competencies later on. And for these are the learning outcomes, these are just examples, and these are just the objectives, example of objectives. Let's go forward for this. Here comes the proposal. As I said, proposal and OBE shall go parallel now. And secondly, they professing no claim of finality or any declaration of ultimate correctness to err is human, as they call. I hereby dare present the following PEOs and PLOs to the Pakistani mathematics community. This is a declaration I would like to mention earlier. And what I want to say is simple, that a lot of room of improvement remains always there. This is what I can contribute. So go forward. I have determined, or I have dared to propose these 4 PEOs, program educational objectives, professional competence, and then mathematical application. I shall not go into details, they are available, although one detail I would like to mention. because in Pakistani society and Pakistani mathematics community, some of our students can find jobs within Pakistan as well as in Gulf region. So I have mentioned Gulf region over here. Of course, once someone is making this proposal precise, such tweaks can be made or deleted as their own. Mathematical application is my second educational objective. This is important. First one is professional competence and then teaching proficiency, because as I understand at the moment in my community, in my economy, in this land, majority of the students are entering into teaching profession. So once we are offering them good education, we should also prepare them to become good teachers so that they can get good jobs, first of all. And fourth educational objective for me is the global employability. So with these, you can agree or disagree, of course, with these educational objectives, but later on, not now. Look at this. These are C-linked. Once I say the capital C, this means cognitive level. C-linked educational objectives. These are PEO2. You can see we have written this PEO earlier. It says that mathematical application. Equip students with the ability to apply mathematical techniques in engineering, data science, and operational research, enabling them to secure specialized roles such as mathematical engineers. Okay, now we should link it. Although it is not directly required that the educational objectives should be linked with the cognitive levels, but I will be doing this. Let me reiterate, this is not needed, but I shall think of our educational objective as well as carrying out a self-analysis, whether we are heading towards the right direction or not. So this is C-linked PEO2. The first one is simply PEO2, and the second one is C-linked PEO2. And if you read it, it says mathematical application covers application of mathematical technique. It is this point, this word, which is basically a verb which is associated with the cognitive level. Application of mathematical techniques in fields such as engineering and data science. Synthesis is another cognitive C-linked verb, synthesis, and in a similar manner we can see how we can connect an educational objective with the cognitive cognitive level associated verbs. Okay, similar exercise can be done for all of the PEOs. Now the new PEOs will arise, and you can see in section 4.1 of the document that we are having two PEOs. One, the simple PEOs, and the second one are the C-linked PEOs, the cognitive level linked PEOs. This is important for the sake of understanding of the PEO. Although this does not affect the framing of PEO, that is another thing we shall discuss a little later. So after PEO, these are the program learning objectives. Again, these are, I have chosen them. Of course, you can add or delete them as per your own desire. But for the time being, let's, for the sake of this example presentation, we can consider them. Analytical mastery, and then quantitative reasoning, pedagogical expertise, computational proficiency, professional adaptability, critical thinking, and problem solving. These are, I think, 6 important ones. I'm sorry, the last line has gone down. That is my mistake. Okay. With these program learning objectives, we can also perform the same linking of these program learning objectives with the cognitive cognitive levels. For example, look at these PLOs. This one, look at these. These PLOs are lacking clarity on specific expectations and success criteria. They are flawed fundamentally. Their absence of details and timelines hinders proper assessment. Third flaw is a revised version is necessary to set clear expectations and milestones. Structured approach ensures outcomes are available, achievable, and measurable. we need to be smarter here. Let me reiterate, let me go back to look at this slide. Although this looks apparently a very impressive slide, but if you go into deeper analysis, you can find these flaws into these program learning objectives. My humble submission is that for setting up our goals or setting up our PLOs, we should be smart. What is smart? It is a technique to settle your goals. It was first time presented in 1981, and I have given the reference in the document. SMART stands for S for specific, measurable, achievable, relevant, and time bound. Every program learning outcome, and later on I shall also stress for the same practice to be done for CLOs. They have to be specific, measurable, achievable, relevant, time bound. You see, at this moment, I'm asking that every program learning outcome should be first linked to the cognitive levels, and secondly, it should be made smart. How it should be made smart? Here it is. For example, this is a quantitative reasoning program learning outcome, using mathematical modeling and quantitative analysis to interpret data and make informed decisions in financial and industrial context. Look at its the new form. Here we have made sure that it will be smart. Now it is the same PLO, but this time it is in the red, it is smart. By the 6th semester, it is the time, students will apply mathematical modeling and quantitative analysis in at least 2 real-world scenarios within financial or industrial contexts, with outcomes measured through project-based evaluations and presentations. We have similarly, the same smart exercise can be done for all of the PLOs. See, this is the PLO, and this is known as the SMART table. In fact, there is a technique. We fill the SMART table first and then make the sentences for PLOs. And because that will ensure that our program learning outcomes are smart and they are achievable, they are time bound, and they are specific. We're not talking in the air. For example, the PLO2, which we just mentioned earlier, it is over here. And you can see it is modeling and analysis related to real world scenarios, application achieved, finance and industry. It is related to finance and industry, and after 6th semester, it should be fully attained. It would have been achieved by the end of the 6th semester. And similarly, there are other time bounds given over here. So it is the SMART technique. I have given all the PLOs in the form of sentences in the document. You can see them over there. First the PLOs are given, and then the smarter PLOs have been. Let me once again repeat. Every PLO should be linked with the cognitive level, and secondly, it should be made smarter. These are my 2 humble submissions. Once this has been done, how to map them? In fact, there is a little more improvement which shows all the 3 things together. Here it is. I suppose that now I consider that this PLO1 is a smart PLO1. It is not a simple PLO. Smart PLO1 is related to PEO1 and it should attain, PLO1 should attain, or the student should attain C3 level, cognitive level 3, cognitive level 4, 6. Similarly, C3, 4, 6, C3, 3, and whatever you like your program to be strengthened or not, whatever. So definitely, if you are using a higher level, this means a higher work. But generally what happens that people are very, let me say, impatient to use the higher cognitive levels. I shall show a little later that achieving the higher cognitive levels is an extremely difficult task for even a very simple topic like L'Hopital rule. I shall show a little later. So be careful about these things. For example, now the same two things, linking with the cognitive levels and specifying and making the CLOs smart. We can do both these things with the course learning outcomes as well. So what I'm saying is that C-linked smart CLOs, C-linked smart CLOs we should develop. For example, this is courtesy of Dr. Fiza Zafar, and these are the CLOs, and I have just included over here as an examples. This says, for example, this is the matrix computation course. Okay, identify and describe three key applications of matrix theory in mathematical problems and data analysis by the end of the semester. In the weekly assignments, for example, if you see here, it is in the weekly assignment. Over here, by midterm exams, the time has been specified. Otherwise, we are talking in the air, and this hardly will have any clear or tangible effect upon the quality of the education being imparted. And similarly, you can read these CLOs in the document in your own time. Okay, here comes I just stumbled upon the L'Hopital rule. I have collected a full link of a full collection of cognitive level examples and questions about L'Hopital rule. I have deliberately taken the L'Hopital rule because we all are with it, and with this, despite whatever specialization we are having, we all know that what is L'Hopital rule. For example, this part is specifically for the mathematicians. And am I running out of time? Let me check. Okay, I have good enough time, which is 2:04. Okay. For example, the first cognitive level is remembering. Now, within remembering, of course, we can ask the question, what is L'Hopital rule? Then list the types of indeterminate forms. You see that every example is starting from the verb which is associated with that particular cognitive level according to the table which I showed earlier. List the types of indeterminate forms where L'Hopital's rule can be applied. Recall, it is a verb. Recall the conditions under which L'Hopital's rule is valid. And you see, if you give this question to a class 12 student, this will be a difficult question. Although it is on C1, but we all should realize that our textbooks do not mention such questions as it is given over here. Recall the conditions under which L'Hopital's rule is valid. Such questions do not come to our exercises or in our textbooks. This is understanding. C2. Explain why L'Hopital rule is used to evaluate indeterminate forms. You just imagine, please, that you have given this question to a very good student of class 12 and how he will try to reply. He will complain. I have experimented with this. He will complain that this is a strange question. No, this is not a strange question. Exactly, this is the Bloom's taxonomy which is asking. Explain why L'Hopital rule is used. Similarly, describe the process of applying L'Hopital's rule to evaluate a limit involving the indeterminate form 0 over 0. Similarly, how does L'Hopital rule handle limits involving infinity, such as infinity over infinity? Now, this is in fact, technical paragraph type reply, which has to be very precise, and the student should collect all those forms in his brain which are involving infinity one way or the other. And then he should draw the common pattern hidden behind all the infinity forms. Now, this is a higher level of human brain. Normally, what our student wants, he wants that, okay, give me an expression, I shall apply L'Hopital rule, and वो जो उर्दू में हम कहते हैं ठक से आंसर आ गया जी उसका, that he will try to produce a ठक answer. No, it will not happen like that. Similarly, applying C3, apply L'Hopital's rule to evaluate. Okay, now this is a question which is very routine and quite familiar to us because majority of our questions are like this. Use L'Hopital rule to find this limit and to find this limit. C3 appears to be very familiar to us. Quite good. Look at analyzing. Look at the first question. Compare the use of L'Hopital's rule. Compare. And just let me ask, is our student ready to compare the rule between 0 over 0 and infinity over infinity form? How do the steps differ based on the form? Now, answering this question needs more brain activity on part of the student. Next, analyze why L'Hopital's rule cannot be applied to this particular limit. Even more difficult is this one. Break down the application of L'Hopital's rule when applied iteratively. When does multiple applications become necessary? Now, this question is fairly difficult, and let me tell you very frankly that जो हम उर्दू में कहते हैं कि मुझे दांतों में पसीना आ गया था जब मैंने इस क्वेश्चन को खुद करने की कोशिश की. Evaluate C5. I'm sorry for the international audience and my Malaysian colleagues that I'm speaking some of the sentences in Urdu, but there are certain expressions which are better in our mother tongue only. I'm sorry for if there's any inconvenience. Okay, evaluate the effectiveness of L'Hopital rule compared to other methods. For example, algebraic simplification for finding limits. Now this is an evaluation, and normally what I have seen during last 10 years of my work with OBE, that people consider evaluation a very easy task. No, this is an extremely difficult task, and even more difficult is creation. Evaluation needs a very big brain, very big brain. For example, evaluate the effectiveness of L'Hopital's rule compared to other methods. So this question should be asked once the student has learned all the algebraic simplification techniques and the L'Hopital rule. At the end of both these techniques or some other techniques, this question should be put, which is a very hard question. Assess the limitations of L'Hopital's rule. When should an alternative method be preferred? Now we are asking these questions for a student who is there to learn only the univariate calculus, and probably we teach the L'Hopital rule in first few weeks. How they are able to do it, this remains a question. But the point, you may ask me, what point I want to bring forward by these questions? The point is very simple, that we need to put more effort to thoroughly understand the level, the spirit, the true meaning of Bloom's taxonomy and its cognitive levels and how they are applied. What we are doing, what is happening is that people are trying to cast the old things into the new dice, and that should not happen. In fact, Bloom's taxonomy requires us to change our whole mental schema, and that is a very difficult task. And someone said that learning is easy, but unlearning is difficult. Bloom's taxonomy requires us to unlearn whatever wrongly we have allowed our brain to accumulate over many years. In fact, we have to change the schema. Okay, come forward. Judge the validity of applying L'Hopital's rule to the limit. Judge. It is a judgment is required. One has to write down few sentences of very strong logical reasoning and has to write it in a very strong language to establish his viewpoint. That is difficult. How a student will, with that age, or especially once I'm talking student, I generally mean the student of my country, my land, Pakistan. There might be very brilliant students in Malaysia or elsewhere, as I come to know. And Dr. Janjua is probably from China, or from some friends are there from Saudi Arabia as well here. But let me tell you, for our students here in this land, it is fairly difficult. Look at the creating, the highest cognitive level. Create an example of a limit that initially appears indeterminate, but can be simplified without using L'Hopital's rule. For me, it is very difficult. Anybody's guess. Look at this. Design a complex limit problem that requires multiple applications of L'Hopital's rule to solve. you have to design. This is the mathematical creativity. You have to design a problem, create an example. And last one again, I have to say sorry, half of the line has been hidden. Develop a set of criteria for determining whether L'Hopital's rule is applicable or not. The student has to develop a set of criteria. I invite all the attendees here. Kindly consider these questions in your own solitude, in your own private time, and you will realize that what does it mean to apply Bloom's taxonomy in mathematical perspective. From my side, these are the last few things. As my colleagues here in CASPM, they know that I have not been very much enthusiastic about OBE due to certain reasons. Those two reasons which I'm presenting here, although both of these reasons I have provided strong scientific and logical strong reasoning in the document why these are true, whatever I'm saying. First of all, OBE is not all good. There are certain weaknesses. And we should understand, if we do not use the proper tool, things will not turn up. First of all, the intellectually rigorous subjects. OBE suits competency-based field like engineering. If you look at the document, this accompanying document, I have given the Washington Accords reference. You can just click and read it over there. It is available on their official website. They are talking about the professional subjects, the subjects which are more inclined towards the psychomotor domain, and they are using to a lesser degree the cognitive domain. But overwhelmingly, it is competency-based and psychomotor domain-based. So one has to draw the distinction between the professional subject and the intellectual subject. Mathematics is an intellectual subject. And sciences, of course, like physics, computer science, where you have to develop not a skill of your hand, but a certain mental schema you have to develop. You have to learn the concept and the chain of the reasoning you have to learn. Secondly, these fields prioritize deep understanding, critical thinking, and theoretical exploration over specific psychomotor outcomes. That is what I was mentioning earlier. Mathematics relies on abstract reasoning, while sciences emphasize inquiry and complex theories. Now, both these abstract reasoning or the sciences inquiry and complex theories, they are different from the psychomotor competencies. OBE is prescriptive nature. It is a prescriptive nature. It simply prescribes you. And prescription is mostly related to the externally learned competencies. It is not for the internal mental schemas. OBE's perspectives nature may stifle creativity and intellectual depth in these areas. In fact, there is a very good book which I have referred in this my document accompanied. Its name is Quality Teaching at the University Level. Kindly look at chapter 1. It is almost 12 pages chapter, and it delineates the limitations, the weaknesses of OBE for the higher education. Next, OBE and the grading. This is my own experience. As I told that I was part of the team which first time in Pakistan won the affiliation of Washington Accord under a military setup. And that is why, because I was a pioneering member of this, and I have gone through this grading practice under OBE. Let me give this blunt remark here. Applying Bloom's taxonomy to higher mathematics grading introduces complexity and may obscure the objective assessment. You may disagree, of course. Educators should use Bloom's framework cautiously to enhance clarity, not complicate the evaluations. What I saw, what I observed, that the teachers were fighting with their own gradings after the result, after the grades. They were fighting that, oh, what I have achieved and what I have not achieved. Consequently, they were fighting on two different fronts. So with this, let me give you a look of the document because I have some time. I hope time is available for me. Yes, it is available. This is the because I promised you that I shall talk about some other subjects as well. And here in the appendices, look at the contents of this document, please, for all my friends who are here. And I have come to know that there are honorable faculty members from Education Department here today. So I shall start from this appendix. Kindly look at this appendix A. It Bloom's taxonomy examples for various subjects. These one and mathematics, physics, chemistry, biology, computer science, education, and as I understand that there is one lady with background in Islamic studies. So I thought that it is good that we should talk about Islamic studies as well. Kindly see this physics. These are the examples of cognitive level questions as well as examples for physics subject. Similarly, this one is for chemistry. This one is for
Dr.
biology.
Atta, can you please zoom it a little?
Yes, I can zoom, but I doubt that this will be any beneficial. But okay, is it visible now?
Yes.
Okay. This one is computer science. For example, if you want, I can scroll it a little because this will need you more time. In fact, reading them all needs more time, and everyone has to take his own subjects appendix separate and then read it on its own. Because, in fact, I was not expecting earlier that people from other subjects will also be coming here. Otherwise, I would have made it in a more general terms. बट वो जो कहते हैं यार जिंदा सोबत बाकी फिर कभी सही okay with this is education from education I would like to because I take a lot of interest in this subject. You can see a few of the questions here. For example, analyze. One of the favorite questions is this one: deconstruct an educational policy to evaluate its impact on schools. And I would like to remind that this deconstruct is not an easier work. It is related to Derrida's work in structural anthropology. So it is not a simple deconstruction. It is a very deep-rooted mental activity which the student has to undergo if this question is put over his head. In fact, we are going to break his head. And then this one is Islamic studies. For example, this is quite strange because majority of we do not generally consider these our humanities people that they can also adopt these techniques, but they can, of course. For example, look at this, please. Classify different types of Islamic jurisprudence, fiqh. Similarly, but this is level 2, but go to level 4. Correlate the teachings of the Quran with Hadith literature. Now, this is a difficult question. For an Islamic studies student, this is a difficult question. For example, look at this number 2. Differentiate between cultural practices and religious obligations in Islam. This is a great dilemma. There are certain cultures, for example, in the cultures which are living near to the beaches, they are eating, for example, certain animals, which probably remain a questionable practice in Islam. So there is a dilemma whether we have to prefer the culture or our deen. And of course, we all go for our deen. It should take a higher podium. But asking the student this question and asking the student to establish his viewpoint with cogent logical reasoning is a difficult question. And I would like to remind that this critique interpretations of Islamic law. It is important to remember that I have used the word critique, Q-U-E. It is not a critic. It is a critique interpretation of Islamic law, very difficult. And similarly, for example, look at the create. This is important. Design a community project that reflects Islamic values. Okay. Develop a research project on the, this is not to do the research project. It says develop a research project on the contributions of Islamic scholars to science. Generate a new interpretation of traditional Islamic text. Synthesize teachings from different Islamic traditions to propose a framework of understanding. These are fairly difficult things. Okay, here it is. This page is regarding the SMART. SMART is referred over here. If you look at fourth reference, this one is the reference. George T. Doran. There is a smart way to write measurement goals and objectives, volume 70, M8 forum. It was published in 1981. Sorry. Okay. And this is important to note that this smart has been applied by now. Literature is available, but for the sake of brevity, I have not put everything in the references. This smart is being applied at the moment with business management, personal development. You can develop your personal goals using the SMART technique. Healthcare and fitness, you can, for example, your personal fitness, just read this one, fitness, structuring workout plans, running a marathon within 6 months. So very, very difficult. And human resource, non-profit, and so on and so forth. There are so many areas where the SMART is being applied. This document also gives its nomenclature, whatever important terms have been used, the dictionary meanings or their terminological meanings have been made clear in the nomenclature. These are the references. It is a 26 pages document. And last thing is this one. Whatever I have presented, kindly print it in from this file, because otherwise you will be ending up destroying your own printer's toner. It will take too many, in fact, hundreds of slides it will make. So, but I have made them in this form of handout, so you can take a printout from these. With this, I'm quite on time. I requested 15 more minutes, and the administrator was quite kind to give me, but I'm efficient enough, I think. I can pat myself. Thank you very much, everyone. I'm through with
Dr. Dar, I have questions, please.
Yes, sir, please.
Yeah. You have mentioned that mathematics and sciences, these require a high level of intellectual activity. And you see, you have stated that the 4th, 5th, and 6th levels of cognitive domain learning, these are all intellectual levels. For example, analyzing. So analysis covers all type of analysis, even analysis in mathematics as well. Evaluation covers all types of evaluation with all its depth. And creativity, for example, this is knowledge creation. All research comes under the umbrella of creativity. For example, generalization, abstraction, these are logical arguments. All these fall in the under the umbrellas of analysis and evaluation and creativity. So, would you please throw light how mathematics cannot be covered under the framework of OBE?
My point is very clear. I said that OBE has certain positive points. For example, these cognitive levels, they can help us to make our PLOs or CLOs, but we need smart CLOs. This is my viewpoint. Whereas applying or forcing OBE for grading purpose, to my humble view, that is not. But of course, if someone disagrees, I shall welcome.
No, there is no disagreement. But I want this OBE to cover if it may be redesigned or it may be improved to cover mathematics and other sciences as well. So what are your suggestions how we can improve this OBE existing framework so that the abstraction of mathematics and the quantitative rather qualitative behavior should be assessed in this OBE framework?
Dr. Khalid, I have in fact, I'm quite a lazy person. Almost 3 years have gone. I plan to write down a book based upon OBE for mathematics. It would have been a textbook of mathematics based upon OBE. I wrote few chapters of this, but later on, somehow due to my own commitments, I could not complete. But it is a detailed topic, and I can share it in some other way time. For example, I consider that logical reasoning should be given, logical chain of reasoning. The
Yeah.
deduction, the power of deduction should be given highest importance for any mathematician to develop.
Yeah, of course, of course. But existing framework, does the existing framework cover this approach deductive reasoning?
I haven't seen any literature on this particular topic, although I was searching for this. But by this time, and I should also admit that I was not very active. It was only because of this workshop that I just searched my old material once again after so many years. Thanks to yourself, your worthy self, and Dr. Fiza, that you forced us to think about these things again.
Okay, thank you, Doctor. Doctor, it was a nice talk from you, and
Thank you, sir.
you explained the relevance of this OB with mathematics quite in a quite excellent way. So I'm really grateful. Huh? We all are
Thank you, sir.
really grateful.
You're all welcome.
Okay, can I just throw some points?
Yeah, please.
Yes, of
Right.
course. Welcome.
Okay, so thank you, Dr. Attar. I would like to share my perception. Okay, when you say that mathematics is just cognitive, I totally disagree. Okay, because if it's totally cognitive, why then there is mathematics anxiety? Why then there is the feeling of fear, the feeling of frustration, the feeling of displeasure? Those are all associated with affective domain. You know, so you can't just ignore affective domain, okay, from mathematics, because as a human being, okay, the psyche of human being, okay, in reality, we use all three domains. We use our thinking capacity, we use our action, the behavior is the psychomotor, and the feelings, the attitudes, you know. So for me, when you say that we just focus on cognitive, I think you need to rethink on that, okay? Because there is a lot of literature reporting on, you know, the feeling of anxiety, fear, and so on. You know, so that is effective to me, okay? And also, when you do mathematical modeling, okay, it requires psychomotor, especially when it is at a higher level, okay, where you have to collect some data, raw data, okay, and maybe you need to do some testing, okay. For example, you want to model a chemical reaction, right? You want to come up with a mathematical model of a chemical reaction, right? So there is some raw data that need to be collected, okay. You need to do some kind of experiment in the lab that requires psychomotor. Okay, so it's just not purely cognitive to me. Okay, because
Dr. Yudera, if I'm pronouncing your name correctly, please.
Dr. Yudaria.
Yudaria.
Yudaria. Yeah, sorry, I'm sorry.
Yeah.
Yes, Honorable Doctor, what I think is that if you are applying OBE to the subject of mathematics, this does not contain any emotions. But if you are applying OBE to the student of mathematics, yes, the student of mathematics goes under anxiety. Anxiety is not mentioned as a theorem or as a corollary or as an example in any of the subjects book. That is
Yeah.
what I'm presenting. I'm not
Okay.
saying, of course, you are very much right.
Okay,
That
let
affective domain and the psychomotor domain remains always linked to the human being who is doing it. Yes, of course, he will be using the hand. Of course, once someone is writing down the theorem, he's using somewhat a psychomotor skill. And he's also undergoing an exam anxiety. Yes, you are very much right. But what I was submitting humbly was that it is the subject of mathematics which is probably more inclined. I'm not saying that it is excluding all other things. No, it is more inclined towards the cognitive levels.
Yeah, but remember that when we produce graduates of mathematics, they are going into a workplace. They don't normally become teachers. They don't normally become lecturers. They can work in the banking sector. You know, they can work as a
Yes,
problem
they are
solver
humans.
in
Yes, of
industry.
course.
Yeah, so that's why when following the program, we want to make sure that they have they have all the capabilities in place. Okay, so just focusing on cognitive and ignoring the other two domains, I think to me is a great mistake. Because if you look at the history of mathematics also, how mathematics was created, okay, if you look at what happened to Archimedes when he found the theorem, he was actually taking a bath and he's mulling on the problem, so that is actually effective.
Madam, if you have ever referred to history of mathematics, kindly just read the history of Sylvester. How bad behaved a person he was, even then he was a prolific mathematician of history.
And also when you are feeling stuck, feeling stuck in a problem, okay, that actually is your emotion. It is affecting your emotion. Okay,
Okay,
whether
I respect, ma'am. I respect, ma'am, your viewpoint.
Yeah, I also agree. I also agree with you, Dr. Udaria, because we are looking for math graduates to have their careers in industry and business organizations, and so they have to follow some framework, and they have to reach some standards that are required in these organizations. So that's why perhaps it's the need of the day to increase scope of careers for our math graduates to follow this OBE framework. However, intellectual activity is no doubt it's very high in mathematics, but that goes in the programs of PhD rather. So in PhD, you may not have a strict OBE framework. This OBE framework is mainly meant for undergrad students. And undergrad students, this is as a terminal degree. We need our students to be ready for the market. So that's why I think OB will be better for our students, even science graduates, if they want to contribute in the real world problems.
So thank you so much. The platforms like this, I think, are very good to have such conversations because such conversations, they open ways for a new way of thinking. But I think we have constraint of time here, so we can discuss it later. I would invite other attendees to, if they want to ask any questions from Dr. Athar Kharal.
Please don't. Everybody don't, please. I shall reply in Urdu in the evening.
Okay, so Dr. Athar, if you want, we can have questions from all the attendees and we can post it to you and then you can reply them.
You want the replies now?
No, but you were saying that
In
you
fact,
don't.
ma'am, what I'm planning that in the evening or tomorrow is Sunday, I shall prepare a second presentation, the same presentation in Urdu language, and you just send me the questions, and I shall reply the question. I believe most of the questions shall be from our own country.
Yes, that's the
So
case because we have all the attendees from
probably
Pakistan.
replying in Urdu will be much better. But if
Okay.
someone insists to force me to speak English, I'm ready here.
So anyone who wants to ask question here from the attendees?
Dr. Usman is there? Is there Dr. Usman, please? Dr. Imran Javed.
Thank you, Dr. Usman.
We want some feedback from Dr. Usman and Dr. Imran Javed.
I mean, there is always the pros and the cons. Even at UTM, when we first apply, when we first adopt OBE, there's a lot of criticism. There's a lot of resilience, you know. But after some time, when they see the advantages, you know, what OBE is doing to our students, okay, so slowly they began to receive the idea. Okay. At the beginning, it is very difficult, you know, to convince people. Okay. But whatever it is, the OBE that we developed is tailored to our needs. So maybe the OBE that you want to develop is tailored to your nation, you know, to your own needs. Okay?
But Dr. Italia, the difference of opinions always help us to move forward in a better way. So I think it was
because there's always the pros and the cons, and always the criticism, because there's always two sides of a coin. Okay,
Yes.
one will totally agree, one will be totally disagree, and they have their own justification. Okay, but then whatever is we are doing is for the development of our own people. Okay, because what we want is for the graduates to be able to be accepted or future ready for the workspace. Okay, because there's a lot of complaints for the employer that says that the graduates cannot communicate, they cannot work as a team, you know. So those are the things that we consider when we design our OBE framework.
Yeah, thank you, Dr. Italia.
Yeah.
So if there are no more questions, we would like to thank Dr. Athar Kharal for this enlightening talk, and also opening up a very healthy conversation about how to implement these OBE concepts in mathematics in an effective manner, and to what level. So thank you so much, Dr. Athar Kharal.
Welcome, ma'am.
So I would like Dr. Mitra to please have go to the reflections. Maybe we are going to have the reflection.